why is Australia on fire?
Hello and welcome to today's Daily Blitz. Now, as you likely will have seen all across the news, the bushfires in Australia have caused a huge amount of devastation. There's all manner of smoke everywhere. You get some incredible videos just from people sailing around Australia. But in terms of what it really means for markets, from a market perspective, the topic has been used as an anchor to support an argument for more renewable energy, for green and climate-based objectives. So it seems quite clear that the narrative will certainly be used in order to push for more of a green agenda, more of a climate-conscious agenda. However, from an Australian's perspective, like yourself, Nikolai, you actually come at this from quite a different angle as to what caused the fires and the severity of the fires in general, right?
Yeah, what's made me really question what's going on in terms of that link between climate change and the forest fires in Australia is, if you believe that climate change is having an impact on bushfires, which it seems fairly obvious at least, as far as I'm concerned, you'd expect those fires to be more often but less severe, because climate change would be causing more fires more often. But if you have more fires more often, then they'll be less severe because there's less to burn each time. What we've actually seen is the opposite. We've seen a huge amount of time where bushfires were not severe and not very frequent, and it was not in the news anywhere near as much as it is now, followed by an extremely severe event on sort of the chart of measuring hectares burned or lives lost or however you want to measure it. And that to me is the opposite of what you would expect if climate change was what's causing this.
Right, so what do you believe actually is causing this?
Well, the obvious cause is basically arsonists. There's more people in Australia, more of them are arsonists, they're burning more areas. But there's also a lot of other things changing. There's more people living in these areas, and there's more build-up in terms of industry, and there's more sort of possible causes because of more people living in Australia, and more people are affected by it. And all of this means that each bushfire's impact is heightened in terms of the effect. Also, our ability to measure these things has completely changed over the last few years. And all of these things are not adjusted for in the simplistic version that the media gives you, that you see on the news each day.
Simply in terms of how fast the fires spread in general across Australia and the sheer scale of the fires themselves, however. Is there not something in there that has been driven by perhaps the way the crops have been farmed, where the way foliage has generally been kept? Is there anything there?
Yeah, there's a lot of people warning specifically that this would happen because of the lack of burn-offs, the lack of small-scale fires that were basically designed to contain fires and limit their severity. There were royal commissions about past bushfires which made specific recommendations on how much burning should be done in order to prevent the fire that we've had. And those targets were not kept in specifically the places that are experiencing severe burns. Even early last year, there was warns that this bushfire season would be as bad as it is currently, specifically because there was a lack of burn-offs. So it's not like this is a surprise, and it's not like it requires some sort of understanding of climate change in order to justify it.
So why were the burn-offs not actually performed?
Because of the risk of creating a larger fire, basically. There's also a big green movement trying to stop burn-offs because they cause a lot of emissions in the burn-off itself. So there's this weird trade-off where some climate activists are in favor of burn-offs because it prevents the large-scale fire, and some are against it. And the people who don't want their homes burned down in a severe bushfire are in favor of it, and that usually makes climate activists come out against it. There's lots of media articles in Australia especially about how it was the green initiatives of the last few years that prevented the burn-offs we need, which are now leading to the severity of the fire that we've got.
So looking forward, do you think any of the sort of the counterpoints to it, to what have caused the severity and for it to have grown to the amount that it has, do you think those will be accommodated at all, or do you think this will simply be used as a means of pushing a green climate change emission-based agenda? So interestingly, in the news, there was the Australians have been linked to cull 10,000 camels, and methane emissions have been used as one of the reasons for doing this. Just in terms of the fires and what may have caused the fires to be as great as they have been, do you think any of that will be accommodated by the argument pushed by the green activists, or will it simply be used as a stepping stone on a path to lower emissions by any means necessary?
I think internationally this is going to be a symbolic moment for the movement internationally, and they'll always be able to reference those fires. But in Australia, I'm not so sure that the push to or the link to climate change will be as acknowledged by the population or in politics. We've had many of these bushfires in the past, and each time a royal commission or an investigation or a report has been issued, and it's been very clear we need to have burn-offs, and each time they don't happen. So it's just a cycle, and I don't think this is going to be any different.
Well, there you have it, folks. It's more ammunition for the renewable energy campaigners in general, and we'll likely see a lot more of this story being referenced in the future to justify that. Well, that sums up today's Daily Blitz. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to tune in next time.